Welcome, I'm Rob Hamilton. This is a brief video describing what you can expect from the online group meetings, the purpose of them, what we cover, and the benefits so you can see if you might want to hang out with us. So the purpose is to learn more about what we offer, to ask questions about the work, to get to know me as a guide and a facilitator, and see if we have a resonance and we want to hang out. We will take some real life situations and see how the principles might apply and get some practice at implementing the principles in real life. That's really the heart of the work here. You've probably read 100 books, spent $50,000 on seminars. If you don't get regular practice, all the information is useless. So our job here is to make the information embodied, integrated, and useful on the spot, in life, in real time. And here's what we cover. There's two main areas we can divide this into. The first is skillful means of communicating in the world. And we facilitate that through learning and practicing NVC. NVC stands for nonviolent communication. This is a practice and a set of skills created by Marshall Rosenberg that is super helpful at conflict resolution. But not only conflict resolution, you're not just resolving a conflict, it has the means to help us to elevate the closeness and connection in a relationship because of the conflict. When conflict happens, there's a separation. When we can skillfully navigate that separation, we come together. But we don't just come together the way we were before the conflict. We come together in an elevated state of understanding of each other and of closeness and of intimacy of each other. Another area we cover are relationship skills. It's said that you don't become true friends with someone until you've had your first fight. And this is also true for relationships. You don't deepen your relationships until you can successfully navigate the conflicts that arise. The conflicts that are there are meant to help you to grow, to stretch you, to make you get out of your comfort zone, to make you learn more about yourself and more about the other. And that deepens and enlivens the relationship and makes them very rich over time and sustain that richness over time. And lastly, about communicating in the world, we need real-time practice because life gets in the way of implementing new tools. Again, we learn things, we get inspired by them, but often that inspiration peters out when life gets overwhelming and we revert to the old ways of doing things. We revert to the old practices because we don't have the space to slow life down and to start to integrate them so we can use them spontaneously in real time and become masterful with them. Our groups create a structure to pause your life and to drop into a physical, mental, and emotional experience of the teachings so that you can integrate them and use them. So that's communicating in the world. The second area is a skillful means of communicating internally, of building emotional intimacy and emotional agility, which helps with communicating in the world. The quality of the communication we have within ourselves to ourselves is absolutely reflected in our communication with the outside world. We do this through some different means. The 4-song meditation helps us build emotional intimacy and agility and emotional resilience. Shadow work is the work where we take the unconscious parts of ourselves, the parts that are sabotaging us, the parts that compel us to bad behaviors, learn how to approach those, uncover those, and integrate them so they do the opposite, so they empower our life instead of sabotage our life. And then we also work on grief and mourning work. Getting over it is not grief and mourning work. We grieve about 10%. That's not scientific, but I made it up. But I think we grieve about 10% as much as we need to, because grief is actually a way from getting where you are to getting where life actually is. And if parts of your life are in the past, you have no use of them in the present moment. They actually work against you because they're pulling you back into this past behavior, the past pain, and you are living in the past instead of being present and available in this moment now, wherever you find yourself. So those are the two areas: communication with the world and deep communication within yourself. And those two combine to create a life you can feel, a life that has meaning, a life that you can see the purpose, you can see the patterns of your life and how they are working for you. And eventually you learn to trust your life. You learn to trust how your life unfolds. You learn to say yes to the circumstances that show up. And if you will just engage it with some vulnerability, with some trust, and with some courage to tell the truth and feel the feelings that are caused by the way life is showing up, you will see that there are gems and treasures that are coming your way in the parts of life that we say we don't like. And that is the bottom line on I Trust My Life. Now, the overall philosophy is that we grow by cultivating our physical, mental, and emotional aspects of our being. I call them the physical, mental, and emotional bodies. If a teaching is not integrated on all three levels, you will not be able to use it in your everyday life. It will not be integrated and a part of your life where you can use it when you need it. Being triggered, surprises that you're not expecting, overwhelm, lack of time, all these things will squash your results from pulling tools into use that you have not fully integrated physically, mentally, and emotionally. We do this integration with information, theories, models, and concepts. Some of them I'm sure you've heard of before. We integrate it with direct personal experience so that we can integrate it into our physiology and into our psychology. Transparency. We use transparency to be willing to see and be seen for what is. Engaging in transparency and by default vulnerability builds character. It also addresses the things we hide from ourselves. Our very severe human self-delusion gets dissolved in truth and transparency, and it connects us to what matters most. This is not always a pleasant process, but it is absolutely necessary if we're going to find our footing in this life and be able to have some sense of sovereignty, some sense of self-knowledge. We cannot leave the skeletons in the closet because they take energy to keep them in the closet, and it robs us of our aliveness and vitality. And finally, for me, the most important part is we do all of this in a warm, safe, accompanied environment. Meaning, we provide permission for our shame, our guilt, the feelings that we were told are bad, the things that we've done in the past, the things we're still doing to hurt ourselves or hurt others. There is warmth and safety and accompaniment to let us look at those things that we're afraid to look at. And when they are looked at with warmth and safety, they can be learned from, they can be integrated, and the brain, there is a part of the brain that needs warmth and accompaniment in order to integrate past traumas. And our number one priority is to provide that environment. So here are to summarize some of the benefits. You can learn to navigate difficult conversations, learn to keep your relationship healthy and alive, or rekindle the spark, or move on if it's time to let it go. All possibilities are valid. Learn to navigate your feelings and become emotionally agile and resilient. Learn to turn self-sabotage and have that powerful force working for you instead of against you. And learn how grief and mourning are more than coping with loss, but are in fact the gateway to become more alive and expand your capacity to live and love deeply. The point of the meetings is to help to start to create embodiment and integration of personal growth concepts that may have only been a mental idea for you in the past, or you're not yet able to fully integrate them. Also to have community, warm community to share and to learn from, and the right kind of support that we need to make this journey, because it is practically impossible to do it alone. I look forward to seeing you there. Email me with any questions. I'm happy to start a dialogue with you so that you feel comfortable to come join us. And we'll see you in there.